Welcome back to Man vs. Meeple, the show where we talk about all things board game related. We have another small box game for you guys. This one is Fantasy Realms from WizKids. It is a 3 to 6 player, I don't want to say set collection, it is a hand management tableau building game.
This game is so hard.
It kind of defies
description,
categorization here.
And to suggest that we're going to go into a thorough overview of how it's played is also probably going to be a bit of a stretch, because I've never really played anything like this. When it was described to me when we first played it, I jokingly said, boy, it sounds like Quiddler meets Ethnos.
Yeah.
And then after we played it, I kind of actually felt like that was a fair description of it.
Yeah, it's a very unique game. It's a deck of cards, and in this deck of cards, there are 53 total cards. Every single card is completely 100% unique. They all have different powers. They do different things. They're worth different victory points. They have different suits to them. There's 10 suits, and each of those 10 suits has 5 different cards within them. So there's 50 of your cards. There's also a 11th suit that has 3 wild cards.
Right, which is they're kind of a wild suit.
Yeah, when you look at these cards, you're going to notice that they have a number of victory points that they're going to be worth. But they also have a number of different things that they do at the end of the round that will give you victory points when they're tied to other cards that you may have collected during the game. And with so many unique cards, there's going to be some AP in the game where you're having to read them all and then try to figure it out. Don't let that bother you, because after you played it the first time, it's a fantastic game. So here's how it works. In a 3 to 6 player game, each player is going to be dealt 7 of those cards at the start of the game. You're going to have a couple minutes here where players are going to read through these cards and see what they do. Primarily, you're going to be looking at the suits. So for instance, I have 2 beasts in my hand. I've got a couple artifacts, and they're all worth this particular number of victory points. I'm going to see which one of these cards kind of work in conjunction with another. It will give you more victory points by having those at the end of the round. A round works like this. On my turn, if I am the first player, I have to draw a card from the top of the deck, and then I have to choose one of my cards to discard, going back down to 7 cards. The next player will then look at his hand, and he has 2 options now. He can either draw a card from the deck and then discard a card, or he can draw the card that the previous player discarded.
Right.
Through the course of the game, there's going to be more and more cards that are in that discard pile face up.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, that's not a pile.
Yeah.
You're stacking those out. It kind of becomes this all-player tableau of cards to choose from.
Yes.
And what's really interesting is that's the game end trigger as well. Once there are 10 face-up cards on the table, that triggers the end of the game.
Yes.
So when I first heard that, I thought, well, that's a really interesting idea. Also, again, it brought me... the game's nothing like Ethnos in many ways, but it has some similar
player control,
DNA, player-controlled ending.
Yep. So once the end game is triggered and that 10th card is face up, players are going to look at all their cards, and then in turn order, simultaneously each player is going to play one of their 7 cards, and they're going to enact that ability. Now it's important because some of the cards, like my protection rune here, clears all of the penalties for every other card. When you're looking at these cards, some of them provide bonuses when they're with other cards. Some of them, however, provide penalties, and those are typically all of your really high-level cards. Like, for instance, the Basilisk is worth 35 points, but he also has a penalty, and he blanks all of my armies, leaders, and beasts, meaning that any of those other cards become blank text when they're paired with this. But if I have the Amulet of Protection, guess what? No more penalty. You're just going to keep tallying up all the points, getting bonuses where they are, and then the person with the most points wins. It's super basic when you just boil it down to what the gameplay is itself.
Yeah, and if you're thinking at all that, well, does it just really boil down to collecting a lot of one suit? Like Jeremy said, it's not set collection.
No.
You're not like, oh, I've got a bunch of green, I'm going to score a lot of points.
Nope.
There's a lot of synergies that are built across suits.
Yes.
Here's an example. I had some cards last night. There's a Sword of Keth or something like that you get plus 10 points for it, plus its value, if you have it with a leader.
Yeah.
You get plus 40 points if you have it with a leader and the Shield of Keth.
Yeah.
The Shield of Keth works the exact same way. So if I play at the end of the game 1 leader and the Shield and Sword of Keth, you're looking at an 80 point plus play right there.
So you're definitely managing all the bonuses and the penalties of the cards that you're getting and then trying to discard those. But the cool thing is you may set something in motion where you're like, I'm going to follow this through at the end. And then that magic card comes up and you're like, this is worth 43 points. I'm not getting rid of it. Now I need to figure a way to negate that penalty on him. What else can I draw? And can I get those cards before the round ends? And that's the really alluring part of this game.
Yeah, it's got a kind of a push your luck, one of those group push your luck things where, like Jeremy, the scenario Jeremy just described, I could lay a card down thinking I'm done with that, but then the guy to my left plays a card that makes that card really attractive again. I want to get both of those cards all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Then you're in this situation, it comes back to you, do you take one of those cards? Because if you do, you're risking the other one being taken by someone else again.
Yeah.
And all the while, you may have thrown your original strategy out the window of how you're going to score your points, all for the lure of like a big play.
And there's a lot of variety in the cards. I mean, there's ways to score 150 points off of one card if you have a complete string of 1 through 7 of any set numbers. I mean, there's ways of getting like all of one suit and scoring 100 points, but you have to really push yourself to be able to those, and you have to have some luck in people laying those down or drawing them off the top.
Yeah, the variety in the cards can be a little overwhelming at first. I think when someone sits down and looks at this, especially someone who's not a gamer, they're going to look at this and they're like, I don't know what any of this means. But like Jeremy said, after one play, it's really amazing because the points that you're scoring, they don't fall into these simple buckets like, oh, you got your points that way, I did too. You get your points all sorts of crazy different ways. Like I had one, our first game, Jeremy got
240 some points.
Yeah, but more than half of that from one play.
That's the one thing I'll say. Over all the games that we've played, the game can feel a little bit like a Blood Rage in its scoring. You may have someone with 80 points, and then you may have someone with 200 and some points. We haven't played enough to know if that's going to carry through with, a dozen plays and so forth. But having said that, the games we played have been interesting. I like this game a lot. Now, there's some things I don't like about it. One, the artwork is not for me. It's very rudimentary. It just seems like it's very basic. The card art on the back is just blah, right? I mean, it feels like they could have done more with it. However, that's very nitpicking. The gameplay itself is fascinating. It's fun. It's quick. You're in and out in a game in 20 minutes.
Or, it can be very fast given the player-controlled aspect. One thing I'd say about the game, and again, not a con, but what we touched on with the scoring. Some people who might get hung up on the idea of like being competitive, this game is not ever going to have a competitive circuit going on because I think it will be a little swingy points-wise. This one's all about the journey because it's just fun sitting there trying to employ this strategy of like, okay, I'm going to get this. Hopefully that one other card that I need to make this happen comes up. And then someone plays it and it's a beautiful thing. And you might have pulled off your strategy perfectly and scored 170 points, which was the third place. But so it was still fun making that happen. And then you learn the next time, okay, so he did this, that's where you can score some points. But again, at the end of the day, I don't think this is ever going to be something, there's never going to be a game where 4 people all were within 10 points of each other. I can't imagine.
No. So that's Fantasy Realms from WizKids game. Really fascinating game. I like this one a lot. And for what it is, price-wise, go pick it up.
Absolutely.
I think it came out at Origins, but I think it's getting a wide release at Gen Con. Or actually, it's coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, next couple of weeks.
Next. So make comments below. If you have questions, please ask. Subscribe to us. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook and everything else that we do at Man vs. Meeple. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Season 1 of Man vs. Meeple is sponsored by our friends at TMG Games. And at Cool Stuff Inc. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.